going back to, let's say, the project management aspect of the project itself. Um, so, what specific strengths or what specific benefits do you feel that you were able to gather from that system that we have?
Yeah, I think for us, from the client's perspective, the most important thing was everything was centralized and easily accessible, right? Any decisions that were made were stored in the system. They were easy to recall, especially if they were made in the design phase and then only came to fruition much later in the construction phase. And I don't know how important that was for you, but I'm sure there were also benefits in the way you were able to work with us as clients to make those decisions.
Absolutely, and one of the main reasons that we use that and why we set it up the way we did is because it gives us and yourself, it gives us the ability to work together. And let's say sometimes a project, an overall project, when since the problem moment that you start a design phase through the end of construction, like in this case, it may have lasted close to 3 years overall. So sometimes you make a decision during the design phase, and maybe that decision does not get actually executed on site, maybe a year and a half or 2 years after that decision was made. By then, you don't even remember what was the decision and why you arrived at that decision. So having the system allows us and you, most importantly, to go back to that and number one, realize what was your decision and understand why you arrived at that decision. If now, a year and a half or 2 years later, you want to change that decision, that's a completely your prerogative. That's it's your house, and we'll work with you to arrive to a new decision if you want to change course. But at least it gives you the ability to go back and say, oh, now I get it. Yeah, this was the train of thought.
I think a great example of that. I don't know if you can see it in the background, but the columns at the front of the house, right? There was a big debate in the design phase whether they should be straight, so vertical up and down, or whether they should be canted over. Yeah. And I think by the time we began executing the construction, we forgot a little bit, and I think we had the same debate again. And it was very easy for us to go back and refer to why we made that decision. And ultimately, we went with the original plan of having them diagonally sort of cantilevered out. Yeah.
So overall, if you would think of a closing statement, how would you describe, how would you feel was your experience working with us, working with Sarco Architects, not only myself, but the whole team that was involved in the project, and just how was the experience working with us on this really great project?
Ultimately, the experience was exceptional. I think it's unparalleled by anybody else I've worked with over the last couple of years, and beyond that, I think most importantly, the expectation setting of the project, right? Knowing what to expect, not having unreasonable expectations of the final end product. And then on top of that, being true to the initial ethos of the project, being true to the initial design. And finally, having a house that when you live in, when you walk in, even 3, 4 years on, it still functions the same way it was meant to, with basically no problems. I mean, I think that makes the whole project and beyond just the building phase unbelievable.